His extraordinary career started in 1940 as Little Beaver in the Red Ryder series. He's been in pictures such as The Suspect, Panic in the Streets, Battle Cry, Stalag 17, and a whole nother career as a producer-promoter that still goes on to this day that I'm sure he'll share with us. Please welcome our special guest, Mr. Tommy Cook.
Kids, they always kid me because every time I take my kids to a show, they keep looking at me. They know I'm going to cry, but they take this and when I'm going to cry.
I'll tell you, that last tracking shot with you walking back from Conte, I think you're entitled to a few tears. I thought that was a terrific ending to a terrific picture.
I was that in about
48.
48, came out in 48, maybe 47. So I was around 17 or so. Very, very naive, 17. But there was some wonderful cinematography, some great camera work in that. And one of the better performances by Victor Mature, who was never really known as a fine actor, but he certainly did a credible job. Of course, Robert Siodmak was...
Tell us a little about Siodmak as a director and your experience.
Well, I really can't give you any stories about Mr. Siodmak, except that he had an unusual talent and he worked beautifully with the actors. It was a pleasure and very easy to work with Mr. Siodmak. But I had fun with, I can tell you some interesting things. First of all, with Debra Paget. It was her first film. She was 17. She tested for the role, and it was a brilliant test. And so they gave her the part, and those were real tears. And it wasn't makeup putting the teardrops coming down. She was quite lovely, and I had a crush on her. And we lived near each other, right by a theater at Wilshire and La Cienega, right near Beverly Hills. So I asked her out towards the end of the film. And she said, yes, yes, and we'll go to a show right around here. So she lived in an apartment with her mother. And I went and I knocked on the door and to pick her up and to take her. And her mother opened the door and I said, I'm Tommy Cook, I'm here. Your daughter told me that I could take her out to a show. And she said, oh, that's fine, that's fine. She'll be right here. And so Debra came out, we said hello, and I said, okay, let's go. And we walked out, and the mother, who looked exactly like Hope Emerson, with the same figure, walked right with us. No way she was going to let Debra Paget go out with me alone. And then, of course, with the young Shelly Winters, fade out, fade in, I'm living temporarily in New York around 1957-58. I went there to see Lee Strasberg. Thought I might want to get into the actor's studio. He had no interest in me whatsoever. He just wanted another Marilyn Monroe, so that lasted a few seconds. I went to see Sandy Meisner in the neighborhood playhouse. We had a great conversation. We got along great, and I was accepted into the neighborhood playhouse for their course. But I went to... right after that, I got a call from my agent. I went to Colorado, Grand Junction, and made Night Passage, played Audie Murphy's brother, Jimmy Stewart, which is a good film. And I was gone so long on location that when I came back to New York, the whole session was over with. But I met Shelly at a party there. And I said, Shelly, those were great times, wasn't it? During the Cry of the City, yeah. So we reminisced. And then I said, you know, I got to get home. My dad is sick. And I got to get home right away. I've got this old jalopy car. I got to get rid of it and then figure out how to get home. She says, Tommy, I need my car here to go back home. Are you interested? Would you like to drive my car back home? I said, yes, that would be terrific. She said, I tell you what, you meet me tomorrow and drive me to my psychiatrist. I have to see him for a couple of minutes. So I meet her and I drive her over. I said, how's my driving? She says, that's okay, this is right over here, just park and stay in the car. I'll just be for a couple of minutes to see my psychiatrist. I said, okay. A couple of minutes later she comes out, gets in the car and she's sobbing. I said, Shelly, what's the matter? He said, he told me I should never see Tony Franciosa again, that he was terrible, it was a wrong relationship, it's going to be harmful, don't see him anymore. I said, well, I don't know what to say, Shelly. What about my driving? Oh, just take the car and go on back home. I said, okay, so I took it home. I'm halfway across America. I turn on the radio, and there is an announcement, Shelly Winters has eloped with Tony Franciosa.
Sure, you mentioned that he's a very underrated actor, but he was also quite the ladies' man. He was really at the height of his career taking off.
As I said earlier, I was very, very naive at that time, and in those days, we shot most of the film in the large stages, the huge stages at 20th Century Fox, and they had the dressing rooms, the portable dressing rooms, right on the stage. And so Victor Mature had his own dressing room and makeup and the restroom, etc. It was all combined. And we got along just fine. And one day he said to me, he said, hey Tom, he said, you know, I spend a lot of time in my dressing room, and I wonder if you'd do me a favor. He says, when they're ready to call me in, they lit the shot and they're ready for the actors to come in and to do the scene, will you come over to my dressing room and knock twice on the door? Knock twice. And that will be my cue, is I'll come right out and I'll go in and do the scene. I said, oh, Mr. Mature, my pleasure, certainly, certainly. So sure enough, later on, Mr. Mature's time for you. Please come on, the lighting is all set. So I run over to his dressing room and it's shaking. And I knock twice, and this face comes full of perspiration and stuff, and just a t-shirt on. I said, Mr. Mature, I think they need you there for the next shot. Oh, yeah, oh, okay, Tom, thanks a lot. So he had different women in his dressing room throughout the entire shooting schedule, and I was his decoy to keep him from,
he was getting ready for the Samson and Delilah. Talk a little bit about Richard Conte. He's kind of an enigma as far as people I've talked to that work with him. They say he's very professional, great actor to work with, but personally a little distant. How did you find him?
Well, we were good buddies. Nick, or Richard Conte, and I were members of the Beverly Hills Tennis Club. Tennis was a very, very important part of my life. And I've produced and directed celebrity charity tennis events all over the world, and I was a pretty good junior tennis player and taught at Dean Martin's house over the years. So tennis was very important. And the Beverly Hills Tennis Club, right in the heart of Beverly Hills on Maple Drive, Billy Wilder practically lived there. Anyway, Richard and I used to play tennis a lot. We teamed up together, and one day I had a bad temper in those days, as my cousin who I'm staying with here would tell you. And I hit an overhead, and I was so mad I threw my racket and it hit the backdrop. In those days it was canvas, and I split it right down the middle. And Phil buffs would remember Greg Bouncer, the very good-looking attorney. He represented Howard Hughes and Warner's and Darryl Zanuck, was the president and a good tennis player. So I went to him and I said, gee, I'm so sorry, Greg. And I said, the racket just fell out of my hand. I don't understand. And but what can I do? What do I do? He says, just give us a check for $500, Tom, and you don't have to do anything more. So Richard came over later and sort of gave me the word.